Time for T2.5 World Tour Race number 9. Also time for another excuse from me, I'm afraid. In my head, my daughter's birthday party was in the afternoon on that day, so I was going to do the race in the morning, do the birthday party in the afternoon, and my wife said to me a couple of days before, you do realise that her birthday party is 11 o'clock in the morning, don't you? So another one that I missed, I'm afraid. I did try and get out of going to the birthday party, but that wasn't going to happen. But I have got some footage from some of the other guys to look through now, so let's take a watch. Stage 9 of the T2.5 World Tour is in Watopia for 5 laps of the flat route. Clues in the name, it is a flat route, but this is definitely the longest in terms of distance in the tour, 52 kilometres or just under. So be interested to see what people do from the start, whether everyone sticks together, whether there's a couple of breakaways as we go along. We've got videos from Pavel. We also have from Christopher Waring in the B group. Everyone's still sticking together there at the moment. And then in the D group, we have Amott as well. Again, the D group a little bit together. It's got G Fat Bike, C Shawl, OG, L Warrior. It's moving around a lot. A Evans in there, Stewie, Latix, N Ruddlesden, J Dreyer, JJ in there as well, coming through the pack there. Still pretty much together. No one's really putting in an effort to split the group at the front. Let's quickly go and see if the Bs have all hung together. We've got Chris White, M Way, A Kerr, C Moore, Noel Slevins in there, C Juck, D Stark, John Bushell, John Guthrie. And again, as I said, pretty much all together. No one's made a breakaway from the start. This is a long race. It was about an hour and a half, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'll jump ahead to see if I can spot any interesting points and spot any times that people try and get away from the group. Thought I'd just see if coming out of the underwater tunnel, this little incline, kind of the first chance to break away maybe, if anyone went for it. And there we go, Chris Jupp over 8 watts per kilo at the front. Is he going to be able to get away? You've got D Stark and A Kerr following, C Waring as well, trying to close that gap. I wonder whether this will stick. As I said, I'm watching this for the first time as I'm recording, so I've not seen what happens in this race yet. Chris is slightly further ahead. Is that Noel coming flying through there as well? M Way putting up 8.5 watts per kilo, trying to keep this group together. Talking about keeping the group together, I did see a couple of messages actually early on. Great sportsmanship, slowing down, allowing John Bushell to catch up with the group again. He's back in with the group now. John Guthrie is actually racing in the A's. He was going to be the only A, and then I think Ben joined as well, and there was a bit of confusion. So I think after this, John and Ben drop out and do their own little meet-up on the same route. So we'll see how those guys get on with that afterwards. But it looks like this group, let's going to have a look from Pavel's point of view. I think that group's going to come back together, as the D group is just coming out of the tunnel themselves. It looks like this is going to stay together. J Dreyer, unfortunately, 1 minute 17 off the back, but everybody else seems to have stayed together, and yeah, nobody with a successful breakaway attempt this early. We're at these small little switchback inclines. I can see in the DCAT, C Shawl has gone off the front 5 seconds ahead, trying to make a bit of a break. N Ruddlesden out the front of this group, as we can see. Wonder if they can catch him on this hill. I did watch the Bs up this route, but despite some big numbers, the group did pretty much stay together all the way up that hill. C Shawl has his lead extend to 7 seconds here. It's slow, it's sort of spreading out on the road a little bit. I wonder whether it will come back together as we get to the top. And I wonder whether C Shaw can go all the way on his own, although I would imagine that's a long way to go with a big pack in a draft behind, with another 45 kilometres to race. But you never know, as some people slightly out the front up at 2.4 watts per kilo for N Ruddlesden, over 3 watts per kilo. G Fat Bike up at 4.7. Is that an attempt to catch out the front or potentially break away as well? Or is it just a case of it's a hill and putting out more effort? We've got A Evans, who's a JJ, Neil Brandon, 2 seconds behind. Looks like this might come back together on the downhill. And yes, they have caught C Shawl there as well. Very quick look at the BCAT, and they're definitely all together at the moment. We'll see where he's slightly off the front doing 6.4, but pretty much all together as a group. A couple of big numbers in there. It looks like there's been a bit of an effort to catch here. Maybe another attempted breakaway. You can see the red that P-Zizou's currently doing to try and... this is that other incline, is it? As it goes down into the S's. But see Waring maybe trying to make a breakaway here. Up at 4 watts per kilo. We'll see if this one sticks. But this is, I guess, another good chance as the hills sort of go up and down. Maybe a chance to split the group slightly. But we'll take a look in a minute and see if this breakaway attempt has stuck. The B's did come back together. We got the D's now heading up that little incline into the S's. Amott putting about a bit of an effort to try and take the front of the group. C. Shaw had done the same and gone off the front. He's now up at 4.2 watts per kilo, trying to keep up with Amott, who's now at 4.3 as well, and throwing the featherweight down. Is this an attempt to split the group as well? I think if this was me, I think, not that I can do it, and you guys know I can't do it, but if I was thinking about where to split it, is potentially on this hill into the S's, if you've got any chance at all. But there's 2 seconds, and there's a couple of splits with 4 seconds back to the next group. And then the very back of the group is 9 seconds behind an OG. I'll keep an eye on this to see if this actually, some of these gaps stay as we go further into the race. These just coming around to finish the first lap, and that incline has split the group slightly. Neil Brandon and A. Evans, 12 seconds off the back, with OG 25 seconds. So that incline into those S's has definitely knocked a couple of people off the back, unfortunately, of the main group. But everybody else still together. Wondering whether they'll take a slight slow down and a bit of a breather. 1 lap in, 4 laps to go, 40 kilometres to go. If we take a look at the B's, they're all still together, a little bit strung out on the road, but definitely all still together. A couple of spiky red bits in Pavel's power graph there. And the same with Christopher Waring, although I would imagine they're more probably at attempted breakaways at certain points. So coming out of the underwater tunnel and then the gravelly bit before starting the climb up to this little bridge. M-Way put in a bit of an effort. He's got himself a 6-second lead now out the front. I wonder whether that will be able to hold. Everyone else in the B group still sticking together. I've just seen that the D group are just coming out this little hill out of the underwater tunnels again. Looks pretty much that everyone's just going to stick together up near the 3 watts per kilo. No one going crazy off the front. Just a pretty steady effort. Still staying together. Those guys behind A. Evans and Neil Brandon have dropped to 31 seconds back. This group still got M-Way 8 seconds out the front. Couple of guys putting down a bit of a blast now. Noel Slevin in the orange numbers there as well. I wonder whether they're going to maybe up this pace a little bit. Try and catch M-Way out the front. Pavel trying to put out those red numbers as well to hang on to the back of the group in the draft. Cracking effort. Slowly coming down now, that 4 seconds. So I think that will probably come back, and it does look like it's come back together as a group. I don't know what the DCAT riders have done, but they're riding in the pouring rain and lightning, whereas the BCAT is just lovely sunny day. I always assumed that the weather was the same for everybody on Zwift, but maybe not. The BCAT just coming around to finish their second lap, 3 laps to go, 30 kilometres just over left in the race. They're all still together. And everyone's still together pretty much, apart from the guys that we know off the back. OG has put an incredible effort in there to catch Neil Brandon and A. Evans. There was a bit of a split there, but he's now back in line with those guys. So that's a cracking effort. But this front pack still riding together. Now we're the other way around. The D's are riding in the sunshine, the weather's clearing up, and the B's are riding in the rain. Maybe there's a weather front and it hits different areas of the course throughout different stages as it comes across the Zwift Watopia world. I don't know. But not that it makes any difference to the racing anyway. All the groups still together. Coming round, so the Bs are now 2.5 laps in, 26 kilometres to go. And the Ds are round starting their, or just started their second lap. So the B group just coming round to finish the third lap, 20.6 kilometres to go, 2 laps. And it's definitely looks like the pace has slowed down quite a bit. And I did wonder whether this might happen, like the first lap, have people feeling out whether they felt they can get away from the group. And if it didn't succeed, maybe it would sort of settle down into a more casual race, and then sort of break up towards the end. More so maybe in the Bs. It's kind of happened again in the Ds as well. We've got a couple of people off the back, as we know about, but the main front group have pretty much stayed together. And I think maybe in the D group, like weighing up, not knowing what to do necessarily in the longer races, because it's certainly not this is the longest race we've done as a T2.5 community, and I wouldn't know what to do. I would just be hanging on, trying to get to the end, and if I can stay in with a group, then I would. Obviously, there's a lot better D riders than me in the group, maybe thinking about trying to make a breakaway at a point. But I think both groups, the Bs and the Ds, have definitely sort of settled down into a pace of riding together with a little bit of harder effort here or there. But we shall see in the last 2 laps whether things start to get a little bit quicker. Towards the end of the penultimate lap for the Bs, I thought I'd just watch this climb up here, see if anybody attempts a breakaway. See Moore and A. Kerr into the 7 watts per kilo. See White in orange numbers as well. See if any of this sort of splits the group up. I thought maybe a lap before the end on this little climb might be a good time to go. 12.5 kilometres left to go. But it looks like Noel was in the orange numbers for a while there. It's slightly spread out on the road. Someone, was that M-Way, putting down Fire Socks fire there. I think, is it going to come back together? Pavel's been in the red up that hill, as I would imagine quite a few of them have been. Lots of power-ups going down here as well. Draft boosts. It looks like it's going to come back together. Let's take a quick look at the Ds, who are about, I guess, a third of the way round the 4th lap. All still pretty much together as well. No, nothing to talk about in terms of breakaways there. Back to this group, and it does look like everyone's come back together in the B cap. There'll be one more lap to go for them. Let's see if anyone gets a breakaway on that last lap, or whether it's going to be just a pure sprint to the finish line. D's just heading up the switchbacks. You can see JJ's gone off the front. He's up at 3 watts per kilo at the moment. Got 3 seconds out the front of the main group. DC Marks, unfortunately, looks like he may have lost the back. He's 10 seconds behind as this breakaway. Is it a breakaway attempt from JJ? As the group kind of ups the pace, trying to bring him in a little bit maybe. Unfortunately, DC Marks has fallen off the back. I wonder whether this will stick. The B group are just trundling. I mean, they're putting out grey zone effort at the moment. They're just trundling round to start the final 10 kilometres in the last lap. Let's head back and see if this breakaway from JJ is 5 seconds up the road. There's some bigger numbers. G Fat Bike 2.9. I wonder if, I mean, it's still, what's that, a group of 6? Still can't be easy to get away from in the draft of a draft group of 6. But let's see if this sticks. Just noticed in the B group that Chris has gone off the front. Noel as well now in the orange numbers trying to catch. Chris up at 4.9. Seymour up at 6s, over 6 watts per kilo. Trying to reel Chris in. I think they might do it. I don't know whether that was a serious attempt at a breakaway or just seeing how others would react maybe. Pavel hanging on to the back of that group. Awesome effort, Pavel. But it looks like the front of this group, unless Christopher Waring's going to go off the front, Chris is back up over 7 watts per kilo again. I wonder whether it doesn't look like there's a massive push for power down there, but I'm going to keep an eye on this around the rest of this lap and see if anything exciting happens. So coming out of the underwater tunnel then, Chris was up in the orange numbers there. Noel trying to match as well. Pushing out of this tunnel. Can they leave anybody behind, or will everyone come across with them? Lots of orange numbers across the board here now. Starting to heat up in the B-Cat with only 6.7 kilometres to go. Everyone seems to be hanging on at the moment. Pavel's slightly off the back. Can he hang in with that group? Come on, Pavel. Keep going. Try and catch the back of that draft. Keep pushing. D Stark in front, 4.1 watts per kilo. Looks like, well done, Pavel. You've caught up with the group. Come back together again. Chris with another attempt off the front to try and split the group a little bit if possible. The D group, DC Marks is just about a minute behind now, unfortunately. C Shawl 3 seconds off the back. Is that losing the draft? There's a chance of this downhill to try and catch back into that draft as the Ds go through the S's and head towards the start-finish line to start the final lap. A. Kerr has had a little bit of a breakaway attempt at the front here as well, pushing the numbers up, pushing the pace up, and some of the other guys putting down some bigger numbers, coasting up behind. It's very strung out, and I think it looks like it's going to come back together again as we hit the bottom of this small, climb back to those switchback routes a little bit higher up. Pavel's still doing well. Try and hang in with the draft at the back. Keep pushing, mate. As the D group is coming round to finish the fourth lap, sorry. The B group pretty much stayed together right up to this point. We're heading towards the S's now. Feather thrown down by someone there. 2 feathers we can see. Orange numbers for Chris, and I saw some other orange ones in there as well. Is anyone going to make this hill their opportunity? 2.2 kilometres left to go. We're an hour and 16 minutes into the race so far. It still looks like this is a very even matched B group by the looks of it, isn't it? Pretty much staying together over the top of this hill. Wonder whether anyone will use those little bumpy bits as a chance to tap, but it looks like we're going to end up with a sprint towards the end. Oh, it looks like D-Start may have fallen off the back. 4 seconds behind the group now. Unlucky, losing the back of the draft. Once you lose that draft, especially at the pace they're going at now, 50 kilometres an hour, it's going to be pretty much impossible to catch back on. Anybody going to put in a big... The pace has definitely increased, but everybody has increased the pace. Probably a couple of people hanging on in there. How's Pavel doing? Pavel's hanging on in the group okay. The D group are in the underwater tunnels. Everyone's still pretty much together from that front group. And watching again as they're going to hit another bit of a climb here. Is anyone going to go for it? See why A. Kerr, there's some 7 watts per kilo from A. Kerr there. But nothing that's going to necessarily split this. So I think this is going to come back down to a sprint at the end. After nearly 51 kilometres of racing, it's coming down to the final 500 metres for the majority of the B group. Anyone are going to go first. M-Way in the orange numbers, 9.4. C. Jupp, 10.1 watts per kilo. M-Way's got the jump off the front though. C. Waring going for it as well. Is Chris going to catch at the front? It's going to be close. There's some orange numbers behind. Can't quite see. It looks like Chris has taken the lead. He has. Chris Jupp is going to win it, I think. Can Christopher Waring catch M-Way? Not quite. So M-Way in second. C. Waring third. Back to Pavel crossing the line. I think that was in 6th. Close racing there, everyone. We'll have a look at the results afterwards. Incredible sprint to the line. To go for 50 kilometres in a group like that is amazing. And then have enough energy at the end to sprint. Obviously, that's a little bit easier for the B group to do than the Ds. And for myself, but incredible effort just to bring it to that line and everybody go for it. Congratulations, Chris. Great sprinting at the end. We look at the D group now, who are 6 kilometres from home, slightly strung out on the road here. D group coming around for their final time up the S's now. Is anyone going to make a break off the front? DC Marks 3 minutes 12 back. N. Brandon and A. Evans still running together, 5:27. And OG 7:46 back with J. Dreyer 28:51. Keep going to the end, guys. Awesome effort. I know I'm saying that now. The race has been and gone. But keep going. And anyone going to go here? Is it a case of breaking off the front, staying together as a group? Looks like this one's going to stay together and possibly come down to a sprint to the line as well. Awesome. The 2 categories we've watched pretty much sticking together in a group. for the whole of the 52 kilometres. Incredible racing. So the decat also comes down to the last 500 metres. Unfortunately, Stewie's fallen off the back slightly, which leaves these 6 riders to race it out to the end. Latix, Seashall, JJ, Amott and N. Ruddlesden. Who's going to go first? N. Ruddlesden up in the numbers. 6.2 watts per kilo. Latix is there as well. Amott up at 9.6. At the moment, N. Ruddlesden out the front. Latix in second, but Amott, orange numbers all the way, taking over. 57 kilometres an hour. I think he's going to take the win. He is going to take the win. Awesome sprint at the end there. N. Ruddlesden just behind by the looks of it. But let's take a look at the results. Incredible sprinting, everyone. It's amazing that both of those races, I don't know whether the same happened in the seas, but both of those races came down to sprint finishes after 52 kilometres. Is brilliant. So great to see the B group stay together to the end and the front of the D group staying together over the course of 52 kilometres. To stay together and still get a sprint finish is brilliant, and it was great fun to watch. Let's take a look through the results. Firstly, we'll have a look at the ACAT. Bit weird in the ACAT today. So I think, if my understanding is correct, John joined the BCAT because he was going to be the only ACAT, and then Ben did jump on to do the race. So they both jumped off the races and did a meet-up on the same course. Thought they'd just race between each other. And then afterwards, they both said that the other person came first. So we've basically said we'll give them both equal points. So we've given that 119 points each. Unfortunately, we don't have any times or watts per kilogram. But what are we looking at in the results? 8 races done by John Kerr at the moment. We're finally into that stage where people have done 8 races and people are going to start moving around a little bit in the results. John Kerr is the only person I think who's done 8 so far, 674.5 points. Ben Bishop on 547, but only the 7 races done. So that's going to move around a little bit as we go further into the final few races. Let's have a look at the BCAT. Brilliant to watch the sprinting at the end here. It was so much fun to see that attempted breakaways slightly earlier on and then coming down to the sprint at the line, and how close it was across all of those riders. Chris Jupp we saw sprinting just at the right time, catching up with Mark Way and taking the win. Mark Way in second, Chris Waring, then Colin Moore, then Noel Slevin. We don't have the split seconds on the results here, but we know that, look how close it is across all of those riders. Pavel, Chris White and Alison Kerr, and then David Stark just lost the back of the group going into the final S's, I think. Into the overall standings, ever present so far is Noel Slevin. His best results at the moment, best 8 results, give him 581.5 points. Chris White has also now done 8 rides. He's on 576.5. We've got David Stark also racing the 8 races with 566. So across those look like... Oh, Pavel as well. Pavel in there has done all the races so far, but obviously stepping up from CCAT, so has some slightly lower points from the CCAT races. And I think that looks like the only people who've done 8 races so far. So moving on to races 10 and 11, as people fill in their 8 races and we average them all out, it's going to shift this table around a little bit maybe. On to the CCAT. We didn't get any footage of the CCAT, so we'll see how close this was. John Simpson winning it in 1 hour, 23 minutes and 4 seconds. Wojciech Pietek just behind, a few seconds back, taking 88.5 points. Lindsay Connor getting third. Look at this as well. This race has finished really close towards the end. We've got Lindsay Connor, Spencer West, Ernst Middeljans, John Lee, Matty Coogs, Matt Reed, all finishing within a split second of each other. George Evans, 1 hour 25.42, so not too far behind. Same with Matt Gregory. Graham Moore as well, just a few seconds behind that. Sam Pye, Craig Finlayson and Julia P. Then looking at the overall standings, George Evans has currently done 8 of the races, 508 points. Matty Coogs also done 8 on 458. Craig Finlayson in there as well, who's done 8 of 445. And then a few people below sort of done the 6 and 7 races. So they'll be moving around on that leaderboard as we get further towards the end. And on to the DCAT. We saw Andy Mott win that one. 1 hour 30 minutes, 27 seconds. Again, look how close these numbers are. As we saw it in the video, Nick Ruddlesden, Latix Warrior, JJ, Connor Shaw, Glenn Fatbike, Stewie D just losing the back coming into the end there. Really close together. And then into the results so far, we've got Ever Presence with Latix, 417 points, 0.5 points. Andrew Evans and Neil Brandon all ever present in there. A couple of people behind who haven't quite hit the 8 races mark yet. Daniel Steenmarks and Nick Ruddlesden. So that'll move around slightly, I think, as we get further in as well. I'm quite excited to see how these tables move around as people get up to that 8 race mark and we start taking the top 8 scores for each racer. So that is the longest race of the tour done in terms of distance, definitely. Maybe the Alp, maybe slightly longer for some, possibly. I don't know. But next up is a short one. We're off to the Bell Lap in Crit City, 5th of February, 8 o'clock UK time for a really fast sprint. That'll be over pretty quickly. I think it's about 8 kilometres in total. So, yeah, 8.1 kilometres. So, really looking forward to that one. If I'm going to get my 8 races in, I have to make every single race now. I certainly intend to. Hopefully, my wife doesn't throw something else in there that I wasn't aware of. Is that fair to say? I should have been aware of when my daughter's birthday party is. Maybe that's partly on me. But I really enjoy, as usual, watching back the races and seeing how close, as I said, all of those 4 categories, because the A's got to the line together as well. How close those races were after a long distance in the run up to the finish line. And I didn't quite know, as I think a lot of other people didn't know, is how people would, approach a longer race. For me, it would have been just trying to get round with it and trying to stay with the group if I had. I don't think watching that D group, I don't think I would have stayed with that front group for the whole race. But seeing some of the efforts off the front that the Bs tried to pull away, but the group came back. Very flat course, really, so it's probably quite difficult. And a lot of our B-Cat riders, I think, have very similar ability level. But just to see those, at the end, it comes down to the sprint at the end, and that is brilliant. And we saw some of the chases to the line. I really enjoyed that. So, yeah, next one up. Really quick one, pretty much a sprint from the start, a little bit of hilly that course as well, so looking forward to that one, and hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better in my legs and my lungs and everything so I can race that one properly and feel quite strong, as I'm starting to in our other races. Want to say a huge thank you as usual to the channel members coming up the screen now. If it's something you're interested in, head to the link below, buymeacoffee.com/target 2.5. It's very similar to Patreon. If you're interested, you can join up there. But that is the end of this video. If you have enjoyed it, do hit like and subscribe. Great racing, everyone. I really enjoyed this one. And I'll see you on the next one.